Welcome to our International Student Brief program. Today, we bring you some serious news as we discuss the tragic murder of Zhuang Menghan, a 23-year-old Chinese student from CalArts, found dead in her apartment. This shocking incident has raised alarms about the safety of Chinese students in the U.S. amid growing geopolitical tensions. In other news, a lawsuit has emerged against Elon Musk's team, alleging that they are recklessly terminating hundreds of USAID programs, which could have severe implications for global humanitarian efforts. Employees are voicing their concerns as a federal judge intervenes, highlighting the chaos within the agency. Lastly, allegations of Chinese interference in South Korea's recent election have stirred controversy, with potential repercussions for diplomatic relations. As the situation unfolds, we'll keep you updated on how these claims might impact trade ties and political stability in the region. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage. South China Morning Post reports on the tragic case of Zhuang Menghan, a 23-year-old Chinese student at the California Institute of the Arts, who was found dead in her apartment on February 4. Her death, which authorities suspect was a murder committed by someone she knew, has sparked widespread concern regarding the safety of Chinese students in the U.S., especially given the rising tensions between the two nations. Zhuang's family, supported by the Chinese consulate, is seeking justice as her death has resonated on Chinese social media, prompting discussions about the alarming trend of violence against Chinese nationals studying abroad. This incident is part of a disturbing pattern, with several other Chinese students having been murdered in recent years, highlighting the urgent need for increased safety measures and awareness. The Toronto Star reveals the ongoing turmoil within the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, as a lawsuit unfolds against the Trump administration's decision to dismantle the agency. Affidavits from USAID employees describe the chaotic environment as teams led by Elon Musk's associates are accused of abruptly terminating numerous foreign assistance programs without proper justification. The employees argue that the administration's actions are not only harmful to their livelihoods but also detrimental to global humanitarian efforts. A federal judge has temporarily halted some of these plans, indicating the contentious nature of the situation as the government grapples with the implications of its cost-cutting measures and the potential impact on international relations. In another report from South China Morning Post, concerns are raised about allegations of Chinese interference in South Korea's elections, which have escalated tensions between the two nations. Supporters of suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol claim that China played a role in election fraud, leading to a martial law decree that has further complicated the political landscape in South Korea. The allegations have been dismissed as baseless by the country's election watchdog, but they have triggered a strong response from Beijing, which emphasizes its non-interference policy. Analysts warn that such claims could jeopardize trade relations and diplomatic efforts, as Yoon's supporters appear to be using anti-China rhetoric to bolster their political agenda amid ongoing turmoil, potentially leading to a cycle of escalating tensions between the two countries. Nikkei Asia reports that Japanese sake breweries are seizing the opportunity presented by the growing global appreciation for Japanese cuisine, particularly in markets like the US and China. With sake exports soaring by 90% over the past decade, local governments are actively promoting this traditional beverage as a cultural emblem. For instance, Gifu Prefecture has organized tasting events in major cities worldwide and published a multilingual catalog showcasing its 45 breweries. Kenji Miwa, president of Miwa Shuzo, emphasizes the importance of building connections with international customers to enhance their experience with sake. Meanwhile, Asahi Shuzo, known for its Dosai brand, has established a brewery in New York and aims to expand the global sake market rather than compete solely among Japanese firms. The recognition of sake brewing as an intangible cultural heritage by UNESCO further underscores its rising global momentum. The Independent highlights the recent freeze on federal loans and grants announced by the Trump administration, which has caused widespread concern among students reliant on federal financial aid. Although a judge temporarily suspended this freeze, confusion remains about its implications for various forms of aid. The White House clarified that federal student loans and Pell Grants would not be affected, assuring students that their funds are secure. The memo specifically targets discretionary grants, leaving many to question which organizations will be impacted. Lawmakers have raised alarms about the potential long-term effects of this freeze, emphasizing that federal funds are crucial for numerous programs and urging a reversal of the decision. As the legal challenges unfold, the uncertainty surrounding federal aid continues to loom over students and institutions alike. Nikkei Asia also reports on Myanmar's tightening restrictions on young men attempting to leave the country to evade military conscription. The government has expanded the age range for conscription and halted the issuance of special permits for overseas work, leading to increased scrutiny at airports and leaving many young men feeling trapped. The military regime, which has been in power since 2021, enacted a conscription law to bolster its armed forces amid ongoing conflicts. As a result, thousands of young people have fled to countries like Thailand and Japan, creating a labor shortage in local factories. While the military has stated that there are no current plans to draft women, reports of threats against families suggest that the situation remains precarious. With the number of Myanmar nationals in Japan on the rise, observers are closely monitoring the government's next moves and the potential for further restrictions. The Independent reports that Republican lawmakers are considering controversial measures aimed at higher education to fund extensions of Trump-era tax cuts, including the potential taxation of college scholarships, the elimination of student loan repayment plans, and a significant tax increase on university endowments. These proposals, currently being discussed in House committees, have raised alarm among higher education advocates who fear they could drastically affect college affordability and accessibility. Jessica Thompson, a policy expert, expressed her shock at these cuts, noting they seem ideologically driven rather than a response to a budget crisis. The House Committee on Education and the Workforce is also exploring ways to overhaul student loan programs, which could limit access to federal aid and potentially end tax-free status for scholarships and fellowships, imposing new financial burdens on students and families. Additionally, there are suggestions to raise the tax on income from college endowments from 1.4% to 14%, impacting a broader range of institutions. Advocates warn that these changes could reverse the progress made in reducing higher education costs, as Craig Lindworm highlighted that, adjusted for inflation, public university tuition is lower now than a decade ago. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Scrolling through the headlines, another crazy day. 6 degrees of stories, connecting in their way. From the weather to the sports, and everything we see. People making news on TV screens for free. 6-degree world, where the news comes in a whirl. Every story ties together like a ribbon in a twirl. Sit back and watch it all, big and small they call. From city lights to countryside, we're connected after all. City lights to countryside, we're connected after all. The laugh, the cry aside, news is flying high. No matter where you are, you'll never fall from the buzz. 6-degree world, where the news comes in a whirl. Every story ties together